I'm Monica Carter and I'm the owner of Fitness Science Incorporated. This is a series of videos that I decided to do to show you how you can take very basic, very simple exercises that most of you know and make them more and more difficult and challenging. These are exercises that will work on all your stabilizing muscles. There's a lot of core, all your abdominals will be working, plus the particular muscle groups that you're trying to work at the same time. Hi, so today we're going to talk about biceps. Not a very difficult workout today by comparison to our chest and triceps and abdominals. We did much harder workouts. This is pretty simple, but it still adds a little bit of a balance component and a little bit of coordination here, also more core and so on. So we're going to start with a variation of just a regular dumbbell curl. I have 12 pounds here. You probably want to start with 8 to 12 if you're a woman, 12 to 20 if you're a man. And we're going to start with a dumbbell curl on just a regular, there are many different ways of doing a bicep curl, I'm sure you all know, but regular bicep curl is just this. It's called just a plain bicep curl. I'm not going to do supinated, it makes it a little bit harder here. I just want you to focus on the form and the rest of the body and your core, not so much only on the arms. So I'm just doing it on one leg, trying to keep as stable as I can. I'm squeezing my glutes on the side of the leg that I'm standing on. And again, I'm just going to do 8 just to show you the form. My shoulders are not moving. I'm trying to keep my upper body uplifted and abdominals nice and tight. Okay. And then we're going to move on to the same exercise, but just with one arm. So you're standing on one leg and you're doing it with the opposite arm. And remember, if you cannot do it correctly, if you have to be shifting yourself back and forth and you have trouble controlling the balance, then it's probably too difficult for you. Okay, so just the opposite arm, opposite leg, nice and tight. And then I'm going to switch arms. What I did is I just shifted to doing it on the same side, same leg, same arm, which makes it a little bit harder because your weight is completely on the left side. Make sure you bring the arm all the way down and all the way up. It's really slow. Squeeze it all the way down, squeeze, and all the way down. And again, I'll just do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. So for those of you who want to maximize the time of the workout, if you only have 20-30 minutes, these are great exercises because you have no idea how much your legs and your core will be working here. My leg is really burning just from standing through these 2 short sets. So my glutes and my leg. Okay, so you're going to be working quite a bit more than what it actually looks like. So one leg bicep curl, both hands, but we're going to add a little bit of a coordination component. So you're going to the dumbbells are going to pass each other halfway, and you're doing it a little bit faster, trying to stay on that one leg. And again, I'm just going to do 8, this is 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8, and rest. So moving on, this is just a simple bicep curl. I'm using the half foam roll, okay? You can stand on the long one. I like the short one, it makes it a little bit easier than the long one. Okay, make sure your foot is aligned with a half roll, and you're engaging your core. As you can see, my leg is moving, trying to stabilize me and balance. And we're going to start with just a few reps for both arms at the same time. And 4 more to go. And 1 more. And then we're going to move on to the same exercise, but just with one arm. So again, we're making it harder. Half foam roll, one arm, alternating sides. So if I'm doing right bicep curl, then I'm standing on the left leg. And then we're going to do it on the same side. That's your other variation. A little bit harder to balance because your weight is on the same side, both in your arm and on your leg. So you're going to find that you're working your abdominal muscles on the right side a little bit more, trying to prevent yourself from falling to that side. And last 3. Make sure it's really slow and controlled. You stop at the bottom, stop at the top, squeeze that muscle. When you stop, control it, squeeze, stop again, and slow it down. Last exercise on the half roll, we're going to combine the one that I showed you before, where you're just alternating bicep curl fast, standing on one leg. Okay, and again, I'll just do 8 to show you, see how I'm fighting for balance. My glutes are working, my quads, my hamstrings, my whole leg basically, and of course a lot of core, a lot of abdominals. And you want them to meet sort of halfway. It's not super fast, but it adds an instability component when you have to switch them both at the same time. And last 2. And we're done with this one. One more exercise on the cable pulley for the biceps, so you have something different than dumbbells. You could probably do it also with a rubber band attached to something stable, except the resistance on the rubber band is always a little different than on the cable. I prefer cables to rubber bands, but go ahead and stand on, this is basically a bicep curl. I call it a sort of extended bicep curl because I try to keep my arm back a little more to lengthen my bicep a little more. Another way of doing it is sitting on an inclined bench where you're in this position and you drop your arm down, and that works the bicep through a little bigger range of motion, lengthening the muscle fibers. Okay, so here I'm actually going to keep the arm back a little bit more. I'm going to stand on the opposite leg, so I'm doing the right arm, left leg, and adding the balance component, and just trying to keep my upper body and that arm very, very stable. Notice that I don't bring my arm forward. A lot of people will do this. That's not your goal. Your goal is to keep that elbow back and the shoulder pretty stable, and just move from your elbow. I'm going to do just 2 more. Okay, and then we can do the same thing on the other arm. Same leg, same arm, makes it a little bit harder, like on the previous, in all the previous exercises. Again, I'm trying to keep that elbow back, shoulder stable, my upper body straight. Try to keep your head aligned with your spine. And 3 more. Okay, and last quick variation, we're going to do the same exercises on the great half roll. Again, I'm standing on the half roll. This is actually a little bit harder than the one with dumbbells because you have the weight pulling you back. So you have to not only work with balance here, but work with your abdominals and your leg muscles and your glutes to try to prevent that rotation and backward pull. Okay, and I would highly recommend keeping the knee a little bit bent so that your knee is protected. Whoops. There you can see how I'm fighting here for balance. And again, if you have to adjust yourself, if you're sliding off, that's absolutely fine. It just takes a second. And 1 more. And the same side. So make sure you're stable first, actually, before you start doing the movement. Rather than rushing into it, I rushed into it a little bit too much. There we go. Keep that elbow back. And 2 more. And 8. Okay. That's it for today. That's the bicep workout. I'll see you next time. So keep these exercises within 12 to 20 repetition range. You don't want to lift too much weight. These are not exercises for improving your strength tremendously, for increasing hypertrophy and building big muscle. You can get really toned, you can get much leaner, you will improve your muscular endurance for sure, and start with lighter weights, for sure, lighter weights. Make sure you can stabilize correctly and that nothing is hurting, all your joints are stable, you can hold the positions that I showed you before you move on to full range and increasing the weights.